When I was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, I didn't know anything about good time or ways to get home earlier. I presumed I'd served the full 18 months in federal prison. Well, it would probably make sense to understand how early, if you're going to prison, how early you could get out of prison. And specifically, someone left a comment this morning or yesterday that said, how can Elizabeth Holmes potentially get out of prison in 18 months or 21 months based on a 60-month sentence? How does early release work? I have speculated. I think Elizabeth Holmes gets 60 months in federal prison. The sentencing guidelines will be through the roof. There are victims. There's just a lot here, and I'm speculating she's going to get 60 months. And I believe in some video I had said she could be out in as early as 18 to 24 months. How? I will also acknowledge that comment has frustrated some people because they don't feel that 5 years would be enough. Some people want 10 and 20. Some people want to bury her underneath the prison. I know from the more than 2,000 comments we've received covering her case. That said, it really frustrates people if they hear 60 months and she can be out in 18 months. How? Number of ways. One of the easiest ways that every federal prisoner who has a release date gets is just getting good time the day you show up to the prison. You don't have to do anything to earn the 15% good time. They're just going to give it to you. Now, you can lose it if you engage in disciplinary infractions and get caught. You can lose commissary, visitation, and the good time they've given you. But you don't have to do anything extraordinary to get it. You just have to avoid problems. So if she gets 60 months, the day she shows up, they're going to give her 15% off her sentence. So even though I only have a psychology degree from the University of Southern California, I can do 15% on 60 months. I hope. 60 months less 15%, 51 months, just like that. Now, if she's prepared properly for the probation interview, that will certainly influence her life on the inside and influence her bunk, her job, and potentially other early release opportunities that include, and this is where some people have really gone apoplectic, the substance abuse program, also known as the residential drug abuse program. I did not do the program, though a number of people on our team did. If you have questions, ask them here, schedule a call, whatever you like, we're here to help. If she discloses in a little active with the hands, let me scale it back. If she discloses in the probation interview that she has a history with drinking or substance abuse in the 12 months preceding her indictment or arrest, she could be eligible for the early release program. Now, this program could take 1 full year off of her sentence. Now, some people have said she would never admit a weakness or a fault like drinking or substance abuse program. That would shatter her image. She will never say that. One, she shouldn't lie. She should not make up if she has a problem. A number of people do that. It always ends badly. They always find out it is essentially, it's fraud. It's criminal activity if you say you have a problem and you do not. If you say you have a problem, you want to back it up with evidence from a substance abuse counselor showing that you're getting treatment, or else a very cynical drug coordinator is going to say, oh, how ironic, Miss Holmes. You've been home for years and you've never gotten substance abuse treatment. And suddenly you show up to prison and you need help. You don't really have a problem, do you? You just want the time off your sentence. Aha. So if she discloses in this interview that she has a history of substance abuse or drinking, it could lead to a full year off of her sentence. And to those of you who say she would never admit a weakness or a flaw, I'd like you to put yourself in her shoes. If she has a problem, 1 full year is 1 full year in jail. You kind of put your ego and pride aside when you can get out of jail a year earlier. Now, there are tiers to the drug program. If you get sentenced to between 24 and 30 months, you can get 6 months off your sentence. 31 to 36 months, if you complete the program, you'll get 9 months off of your sentence. 37 months or more, if you complete this 9-month, 500-hour program, you're going to get 1 full year off of your sentence. Wow, that is a big deal. I also understand the irony that like the best mechanism to get a year off of your sentence is to have a drinking or substance abuse problem. It is ironic. The reason they'll give you this time off is because technically you are rehabilitated. Studies suggest you're less likely to reoffend and break the law, and us taxpayers won't have to warehouse you again in federal prison. So let's get back to the math here. Let's get back to the math. Despite my psychology degree from USC, I can do the math. 51 months after good time, if you take 12 full months off of 51, 39, this is terrible, 39 months. So now we're down to 39 months in federal prison. Now you may be thinking, Justin, how did you get to 18 or 24 months in jail? Stick with me here. The Second Chance Act of 2008, which I benefited from shortly after I surrendered to federal prison, President Bush signed the Second Chance Act. One of the things that law did was extend halfway house time from 6 months to 1 full year in prison. Naturally, the Bureau of Prisons is a big bureaucracy with more than 36,000 employees, so they are at times reluctant to put into place law. They did it with RDAP. They did it with the First Step Act. It's taken years to roll out based on the bureaucracy and COVID and other issues. The Second Chance Act as well. So prisoners could have, thank you for that bug right in the ear. Good God. This is what happens when you film videos outside. It's the elements. I think I'm going to be okay. What happened was, even though you were allowed to get 1 full year in the halfway house, case managers were like, you're crazy. You got a 2 or 3 year sentence. Normally you would have gotten 45 days. I'm going to kick you to 90 days. Don't come begging for a year in the halfway house. You're crazy. Get out. So very few prisoners initially were getting the full year in the halfway house, even though the law allowed it. Some people like Michael Santos, my partner, served 26 years. Of course, he got a full year in the halfway house. Seth Ferrenti, our friend who served 20 years. You should read his books at Guerrilla Convict. Great books. He got a full year or just under. So it took many, 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 many years before people began to get 1 full year in the halfway house, even on sentences of 3, 4, or 5 years. Craig Carton, a talk show host client of ours in New York on a 42-month sentence, got 1 full year in the halfway house at Lewisburg. Now, it wasn't by accident. He worked. He had a good record. He avoided problems. He was extraordinary and compelling. They rewarded him. Back to the math for Elizabeth Holmes. If she gets 1 full year in the halfway house, well, we can now slash 12 months off of 39 months. We're now down to 27 months. Pretty good. Now, the First Step Act allows earned time credits. And to learn more about earned time credits and halfway house placement and designations, I'm going to put up a link in this video to a phenomenal, beautiful subject matter expert page we created, or my business partner Michael Santos created at Prison Professors. Imagine being able to interview the commissioner of the Securities Exchange Commission, or the Department of Justice, or the insurance commissioner, or the commissioner of Major League Baseball or the NBA. Really big, important people who oversee tens of thousands of people. Michael has created these phenomenal interviews with subject matter experts that include Hugh Horwitz, the former director of the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So on that subject matter page, you are going to hear directly from Hugh, the former director of the BOP, who none of us would ever have access to. You have a question, you ain't getting through to Hugh. Our team has access to him, or have the privilege of interviewing him, learning from him, and we did these videos, or Michael did these videos about First Step Act and the BOP and designations and transfers that all of you need to watch and benefit from. This is gold. We also did it with the former person who heads up the halfway house and home confinement and probation, Chris Maloney. These are so essential subject matter expert interviews that we've been able to obtain and create and give to you for free. So if you want to learn what you can do, please watch those videos with Michael Santos and these subject matter experts. They're gold. In that interview with Hugh Horwitz, he discussed the First Step Act and earned time credits. You got to watch it. With respect to Elizabeth Holmes, if she completes 1 full year in prison, and if she completes programming based on the First Step Act, it has to be kind of evidence-based or productive activity-based that could someday qualify for credits. If she completes 1 full year of programming, she will get 6 months off of her sentence. So for every 30 days of programming, she's going to get 15 days of additional home confinement time. It's a really big deal. So let's just say she does a year, and she will. You now take 6 months off of the sentence. So where do we start at? 60 months down to 51 months with good time, 12 months off for the drug program down to 39, 12 months off potentially for the halfway house, we're down to 27, 1 full year of programming because of the First Step Act gives her another 6 months of credit, we're down to 21. And then if she did another 6 months of programming, guess what? It's another 3 months off the sentence, potentially down to 18 months with a 1 year cap. That's why I wanted to film this video, because someone was like, hey man, explain early release and how Elizabeth Holmes on an 18-month sentence, on a 60-month sentence, could get out so quickly. Any federal defendant should understand all the mechanisms for early release, including Elizabeth Holmes. Many defendants or people, I think, will be upset when they hear the sentence. They want it to be longer, and many of them will be even upsettier. Upsettier is actually not a word. As a paid communicator, I should think about what the right word is. Upsettier is not a word. That's something my 4-year-old son would say. People are going to be angry when they learn how quickly she could be out of prison, though I will remind all of you as I close that the hardest part of this sanction isn't necessarily time in prison. It's clearly defined with a beginning. This is my philosophical shtick right now. Are you digging it? Federal prison is clearly defined with a beginning and an end. Life on the inside is often the easiest part of the experience. It's coming home with a sullied reputation and having to rebuild from nothing. And that kind of aligns with what a federal judge told us last week at a conference we attended in San Diego. He said, "Don't tell me Martha Stewart served time in a penitentiary. She was in a camp. She was in a camp. It's not really prison to me." But he knows, this judge said, there are collateral consequences that accompany this process: reputation, shame, embarrassment, licensing issues, struggling to recover, depression, substance abuse issues, suicide. So all of you defendants would be wise as you build your sentencing mitigation strategy to thoughtfully and strategically articulate all of the collateral consequences that accompany this. Because if you don't, some people may think, big deal, man, you served a year and a day in a federal prison camp, club fed, it was party time, right? No, it's a lifelong sanction, or the scarlet letter is with us forever. It doesn't have to be a life sanction, of course, but for so many people, it is. So that's how I'll close, and how Elizabeth Holmes, on a 60-month sentence that I'm predicting, could be out of prison in as early as 18 months. Thank you for the question.